In 2024, director Fede Alvarez released his contribution to the Alien franchise with Evil Dead in Space. With Ridley Scott backing him as producer, Alvarez carried the series in a new and terrifying direction with Alien Romulus.
Welcome to Bedlam Movie Night, the podcast where we dissect, deconstruct, and exhume films from the depths of horror, action, sci-fi, and beyond. I'm Ben Marlowe, joined by John Anderson.
Hello, hello.
And tonight we're locking ourselves inside a grimy, claustrophobic hell tube full of acid blood, facehuggers, and industrial dread.
Hell yeah. Quick spoiler alert before we dive deep into this. Here on Bedlam Movie Night, we spoil the movie we're talking about, movies that you have never seen, movies you've probably never heard of, and so on and so forth. Also, our episodes are structured in a particular way. We've got 3 different distinct parts. Right now, the first part that you're listening to, we get into a little bit of the background of the film. We talk about the composer, some of the cast members and director. The second part, we would like to call the dungeon, where we get into some specific scenes and how they came about in the movie. And then finally, to wrap it up, we get into a section called Grave Matters, where we cover some different categories and play a game or two. But anyways, I started this episode by saying Evil Dead in Space. I say that with love, though. Fede Alvarez, his first film was a reboot of Evil Dead, the Sam Raimi classic, and I think he really did that one justice. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell both were producers on the reboot and gave him all the flowers for doing it.
Really? I didn't realize Bruce Campbell was a producer on that.
Yeah, well, him and Sam Raimi go way back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know they're in the Spider-Man together and stuff.
Well, Sam Raimi directed the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man series, and Bruce Campbell got a few cameos because they're longtime buddies. And Bruce Campbell's had an interesting career where he almost made it, but never quite.
He got away with more than most do.
Yeah.
He's probably more prolific than Julia Roberts is going to end up.
Yeah, he's just got a cult thing.
The cult following is serious. And that's why this movie was crazy, because that's why he got the job. Because if you can satiate that heavy of a cult following and get those type of flowers, this is the type of only... Aliens I hold dearly, so I was ready for him to take this one.
Yeah, totally. The Evil Dead similarities I just couldn't deny in this movie either. Romulus and Evil Dead both are kind of isolation horror films. Evil Dead being a cabin in the woods, Romulus being a space station. They're very similar plot devices where people are trapped in a confined space with a monster. So it's something that he does well, and he did justice to a classic already. So he just kind of carried a lot of his stuff.
There's nobody else for the job.
Exactly.
Honestly, if he could pull that off, there's no one else for the job.
Yeah. Alvarez talks about an early phone call that he had with Ridley Scott. Like I mentioned before, who produced the film. Scott would advise Alvarez on the story that he was trying to create for Romulus, and gave him advice on what parts to focus on. Essentially, giving this young director a master class in directing,
which is kind of crazy that he didn't get that from the Evil Dead director.
I don't know really what the relationship was. I didn't do a deep dive with Evil Dead like I did with this one, but I do know that Ridley Scott was "This is what your story's about. You need to hone in on this part of your script. Don't worry so much about that."
Well, Ridley Scott's on a whole nother level.
Totally.
And I will share this franchise, Aliens alone, is by far my favorite franchise of all time. It means so much to me. And so the things that, Ridley Scott in particular has done with this folklore, it's absolutely incredible. And I cannot wait to dive into alien folklore with you.
Well, Ridley Scott, before directing Alien, kind of felt that the sci-fi world was closed off to him. He didn't see an in for him as a director or a creative.
Interesting.
Until he saw Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it just blew him away and opened his eyes to what could be possible. And of course, that movie is on a whole other philosophical level.
Right.
Ridley Scott took the grandiosity of that sci-fi vision and then like put horror into it, which had never
Right.
been done before. Like you had Star Wars, which did the
Yeah.
adventure opera thing, and Ridley Scott truly like made his mark by taking what was being done with sci-fi and like creating these really large worlds
Huge,
and then just like
massive.
putting
And it's
terror in
going
it.
for years and years. And like what is also genius about him is like he knew how to pitch it. It was Jaws in
Yeah.
space, which
Right.
is like him like dumbing it down. But meanwhile, he's like, oh, do I have some metaphors for you?
Well, what he had really wanted to get across was like at the time that he was working on Alien, he said that in his opinion, there had only been three perfect horror films made up until that time. He names them directly in this interview. He says Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Omen, and The Exorcist. And he describes them all as vessels of fear, which, you know, they were showing things that had never been shown before.
Yeah, I'd say freaking
Right?
so. I mean, those three are definitely
Top of the
easily,
line.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't
Right.
argue with that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because, again, why Fede Alvarez did a good job is because he got to know Ridley, he saw what he was doing, and managed to like incorporate Ridley's influences throughout this movie as well.
Well, he kind of had, Ridley was kind of over his shoulder.
Yeah,
He was like,
yeah,
you're
I
going to do
can't
this my
really
way.
imagine what that would be like. I have heard recently a little bit of discourse, but I've heard Ridley said he's done with Aliens, which is discouraging because God knows what'll happen now with Disney's fucking
Right. I don't
creepy
know how I
hands on.
feel about that because I enjoyed Prometheus. Parts of Covenant were cool, but it just kind of seemed like he was getting wrapped up in his own folklore a little bit too heavy. I don't know. It just
I'm
there were
going to
some of the
expose myself after you saying that because you're going to be shocked with how much I am also wrapped up in his
Yeah.
folklore. I'm a complete victim of what he's produced.
Right.
I mean, I'm a happy victim. Yeah.
right. So I really appreciated that there weren't a lot of known actors in this movie because a lot of times big names can distract from the film and what's going on in the story. And when you've got a cast of relatively unknowns, the focus is less on the celebrity. It kind of reminds me of Danny Boyle directing 28 Days Later, where he deliberately said in interviews, like, I didn't want anybody known in the cast and to give it more like a realistic feel.
And a lot of people had contention with that, but I really like it, especially the more I watch it. What I really appreciate too is he didn't do the thing that Disney is so guilty of, especially after being acquired by Disney,
Right.
which is like the lazy writing thing where, like, we don't really have a reason for our hero to earn their skills and ability and knowledge of the world they're in.
Right.
They're just kind of born with it. They're like an ex-military or they've got
Right.
a bug bit them, things like that.
Right. Another big shout out I wanted to give was to the production design. Fede Alvarez was very adamant about using as much practical effects as possible.
It really came through.
Yeah, there was like a few moments of CGI that they just couldn't
Well,
help.
there's one big one.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yes.
But all of the creature stuff, the up close creature stuff, especially, was all puppets and
It's great.
guys in suits and like
Well,
the
he
whole thing.
recognizes that's why all these films hold up. Like
Yeah.
those old Alien movies, those puppet things, and the genius that they would do with like
Yeah.
the tricks they could use, unbelievable.
Yeah, he really pushed the envelope with the practical effects, and he even said like I wanted to do things the hard way for the audience because he knew that it would come across in such of a more effective way than just using CGI. He also had Alec Gillis work on the film, who worked on the original Alien movie back in the day.
Yeah.
So he had this guy come back around and to do
What,
some stuff.
what did Alec Gillis do?
Alec Gillis, he worked on Alien. For this particular movie, his company, I think it's called Gillis Effects, they really worked hands-on with the chest bursting scene with Navarro
Gotcha.
in the ship with Kay. Alec Gillis was all up in that moment.
Gotcha, because I do know they like use like hydraulics to like make the little alien
Yeah.
come out of that shit and stuff like that.
Yeah, well,
Brilliant.
like one of the dudes that was on the original effects team was behind that.
I mean, the whole look of this movie is perfect for where it's supposed to exist in the Alien timeline. I mean, I know there was like just like other dedications they would do. Like
Yeah.
I know they even ran the audio through cassette tapes to make it sound more 80s and things like that.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of callbacks to the first two films, Alien and Aliens. They do a lot of like dialogue throwbacks where they basically have like direct lines that they lift from those movies and give it to characters in this one.
Yeah.
There's like shots that are exactly the same. A lot of set design that was basically lifted from the original.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly divisive. And you know, this movie kind of reeks of those like low-hanging fruit points that Disney's very, very much guilty of. And I will say, like, the way that like shots and music and effects are used in this, like that's what they should use for like the callbacks. Is like when the Prometheus music plays when they say the black goo, you know, got chills.
Yeah.
Like you don't need these harsh reminders of all
Right.
the connections and stuff like that. Just
I
that.
kind of wonder how much of that was Alvarez and how much of that was Ridley Scott.
Well, that's
wanting
the
to
thing. I
plant those
think they're
things.
both probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Ridley Scott every now and then shows his I would just say his age basically, or his
Right.
because you kind of lose touch with.
Yeah, he's like 70 something. It was like,
And meanwhile, the way Aliens broke down the door was like the most like prolific rock to culture, being like a feminist movement and all that good stuff, which we can dive into later.
yeah. Well, the timeline that Romulus takes place in, as far as like the alien folklore goes, this one sits right in between the first two movies, Alien and Aliens. It takes big visual influences from the video game Alien Isolation, which Alvarez played while he was working on another film before beginning this project.
I love that video game so much.
I never played it.
This guy goes ham on the video game references.
Yeah.
Just for instance, which I think is my favorite one because it's riddled with them. Like, it's too many to even list. But my favorite one is, you know how in video games when there's like a checkpoint and you save and you know that means there's like a big problem
Something-
coming up?
yeah.
They literally have the same checkpoints every time they enter a scene where something crazy is about to happen. You
Yeah.
can see the checkpoints from the video game.
Well, the whole space station like acts like a video game level. Like each area they get into has new problems, and they've got to solve like the zero gravity thing or the body temperature thing. Actually,
Right.
going back to Danny Boyle again, he was inspired by Resident Evil for the concept of the infected when he was making 28 Days Later.
Yeah, because he said that the dogs were the problem. He's like, these guys are a lot faster than the zombies.
Right, like yeah, that character freaked him out the most, and so he was trying to figure out how to bring that into 28 Days Later. So I don't know, it has definitely reminded me a lot of that.
And everybody said video games are bad for you.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about Dan O'Bannon, who wrote the screenplay for the original Alien. He also worked on Total Recall, as well as John Carpenter's first film, Dark Star. O'Bannon is a name that you'll hear come up again and again in regards to classic sci-fi. And you can't talk about him without talking about Alien. And you can't talk about Alien without talking about Alejandro Jodorowsky's Dune. After Dan O'Bannon worked on Dark Star with John Carpenter, Jodorowsky hired him to oversee the special effects team for his adaptation of Dune in the late 70s. Graphic artist Mobius was also on the crew as a production designer and drew thousands of storyboard ideas. But the real cherry on top here is that H.R. Giger was on the team as well and was tasked with designing sets for the Harkonnens in Jodorowsky's Dune. His concept art for the Harkonnen Palace, among other ideas, eventually found a home in Ridley Scott's Alien a few years later when Dan O'Bannon connected the artist with the director. If you look up his concept art, Giger did all this work for Jodorowsky's Dune, which didn't get made, unfortunately.
Ugh.
But then you can see the evolution
Yeah.
of how it became the Alien stuff. Fun side quest on that note, the production Bible for Jodorowsky's Dune floated around Hollywood for years after he lost funding and rights to make the film. Notable influences that it had on future sci-fi films extend to Star Wars, with the concept of lightsabers. Giger's Baron Harkonnen design turned into Jabba the Hutt.
Whoa.
And Mobius went on to work on the film Fifth Element years later. taking his unique visual style with him into that movie.
Yeah, it's crazy how we just thought it was the times, and it was, yeah, one man's kind of vision a little bit.
I mean, just imagine what could have been had he finished Dune and that became the benchmark instead of Star Wars, which
Yeah,
happened
exactly.
afterwards, right? Like instead, all of these ideas that he had been working on, they influence things in a different way. But just like if that vision had been out in the world, movies would not have been what we have them
It's
today.
kind of a cool thought to think if like Dune was our Star Wars, and then the way that Dune's kind of resurfacing right now,
Right.
like Star Wars suddenly just came through with this like perfect reiteration of what
Yeah.
it's supposed to be.
Right.
We would be
Instead
like,
of the schlocky
whoa,
Disney
yeah,
thing
it
that
would
is
be
now.
incredible. I mean, I'm very jealous of, yeah, those kids who got Star Wars for sure.
Yeah, I've always wished that they would let something really different happen with the Star Wars films. Like, can we let the Mad Max guy, George Miller, can we let him make a Star Wars movie?
That's the thing
know?
that I mean, it's Disney's fault, and I gotta say one thing about this movie that I'm like worried about is, like, Rogue One. Remember
Yeah,
that one?
love
That
that
was
one.
great, right?
Great movie.
And you had optimism, and you're like, oh shit, they might do something really cool. This better not be the Rogue One of the Alien franchise, because the Star Wars franchise crashed and burned. If
Yeah.
they do that to me, Disney.
Well, the thing with Rogue One is like I liked it. That was definitely like top 3 for me. Is Empire Strikes Back #1,
Right.
Rogue One #2.
Really? That's
Yeah.
a bold statement.
And I didn't mind Solo because they tried something different with it.
Yeah.
But like with Rogue One, they still just like were doing a prequel. They didn't do
Well,
an
they're
original.
playing it safe.
Yeah.
It was Disney just being like, what would it feel like? And
Right.
then they're like, it feels great. Let's fucking go. And they ruined everything. And now they have their disgusting little fucking white gloved hands on these things. And if they
Not a fan.
ruin this, I swear to God.
Not a fan. I still want to have optimism because I like these movies and I want to think that like maybe they'll be.
Well, we got Alien Earth coming up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we see that, yeah.
Is it just like an alien comes to Earth and has to get a job as a
regular?
regular?
I don't know. The
You have a
timeline
xenomorph,
is
it's a-
funky. I have, again, that chapter I've yet to truly investigate because I spend my time in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have anything else about the background of the film, so should we jump into the dungeon?
Yeah, I'm very excited for this.
All right, let's get into it. So we open up on a blanket of stars out in space from which a ship glides through. The systems of the ship activate, computer screens flicker, and a rock is brought on board, and the crew analyzes it, and we pull back and see the imprint of a xenomorph in the stone. It really reads to me like a nature documentary. It could be like that could be something on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
like a sci-fi, those fake like sci-fi like ancient aliens where they imagine like what if scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, except for the like total rip-off of the witch music where there's some lady screaming and haunting you in the background.
Well, one thing they did do, not necessarily a rip-off, but they do this like I mentioned earlier, this comes up a lot where they have like visual references and dialogue references to the original film. So one of the computer screens flashes Echo Probe 203 on the screen.
Yeah, right.
And it's in the same curved font as when the Nostromo computer wakes up in the original 1979 film.
Not only that, my friend, but there's a, like you were saying with Space Odyssey, it also says Mother 9001, which, because like as you were saying, it's a nod to HAL 900 in 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yep.
So the guy's just loving himself and everybody else involved.
The computer also displays that the ship is in a star system called Zeta Reticule system, which actually is a real-life binary star system visible from the southern hemisphere here on Earth. Both of the stars in Zeta Reticule are similar to our own sun. So that's going on out there.
Well, we're going to have to dive into that on a whole other episode.
Yeah, that's our astrology or astronomy episode.
I also liked when they like pulled the cast off of the thing, the xenomorph. It kind of like looked like the cover of, I think it was Alien 3. Remember it? That green graphic. It like looked like a little embryo, but a little more developed.
I remember that. Also wanted to note that the ship is shown flying through like galactic junk and the debris of the wrecked Nostromo. That is a direct reference to Jodorowsky's Dune. The opening storyboards that Mobius worked on had an exact sequence like that with like the camera angles floating through space, and there's just like all this wreckage and junk that it's passing through. So knowing the history of Dan O'Bannon and Ridley Scott, like that's got to be something that they worked on to realize for this movie, because
Yeah.
that is the opening scene of Jodorowsky's Dune.
Or just, yeah, it's just one of those things that got like mixed up in the mood board that has carried on for 30 years.
And been in circulation in Hollywood
Yeah.
forever. Yeah. Well, yeah, again, like the score and the sound design were so suspenseful for this whole opening sequence, and like drew me in, and was like, oh, it's on.
I like how it, but again, it's like a replica of the first one, but to see it like in IMAX and stuff, just the
Yeah.
ship emerge out of the darkness like that.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Well, from here, we go onto this mining planet where we start to get introduced to all of our future victims in the film. That whole world they create on that planet gave me strong Blade Runner vibes.
Well, there is theory Blade Runner world and Alien world is correlated or connected.
Tell me more.
That theory is way too long. There's so many theories I have that we have to keep to Alien Romulus, but it applies more to the movie Alien and Alien, so when we go there. But that's, again, what Fede Alvarez is doing, is nodding to that for us.
Okay.
But I like the angle of the industrial thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've kind of liked about the David Fincher one. And I know he said, like, the reason he kind of, like, picked this time and everything was he was, like, when he's watching Aliens, there's, like, a scene where they're all in the corridor. And there's
Right.
about, 50 more years for them to terraform this planet.
Right.
And he had the thought of, like, I wonder what it'd be like to pick up with the kids 20 years before the 50-year terraform.
Yeah, what
And
happens right in the middle.
It's cool how just unique way of approaching it.
So wait, is this supposed to be the planet that Aliens takes place on?
No, I think he was just kind of, I don't know if that's the exact one, but I think he might have been inspired for it. But
That's good
no,
shit.
I don't know. I wouldn't quote me on that one for sure.
Right. I mean, yeah, why not make it that? I don't know. But
Yeah.
well, yeah, we get introduced to a cast of characters, and we're focused now on a group of 5 young people and an android who are trying to get off of this mining planet owned by the notorious Wayland Corporation. It gave me like Goonies in space vibes at first, like with a little twist of terror, But I was reminded of like how many, horror movies in particular have this plot device: a group of friends encountering a monster or a killer of some kind. You think about Stranger Things, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Final
Right.
Destination, Evil Dead, and so on. Like,
Yeah, you said it was kind of like a cabin to me at one point, I think. Like,
well, the Evil
cabin.
Dead
Yeah, right,
is
yeah.
like, this, that's why I said like Evil Dead in space, because like it's a confined, isolated environment with like a group of young people who are fighting off this thing that's trying to kill them. On the lighter side of things, though, you've got Goonies, you've got Monster Squad, and Super 8, which is kind of the more PG world of that plot device.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's a reason that it works and that it shows up so many times in movies like this.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw this, I had kind of the same reaction. I'd say, like, other than the, just that whole CGI disaster, this is one of the
Yeah.
more contentious things. But again, like, before we do these recordings, I do give so much benefit of the doubt, and it's fun watching it. But, like, I think kind of the counterpoint to that is, like, we're trying to get real, like, empathetic. They're trying to relate to the generation that's coming, which is, the audience Disney's trying to capture, obviously, which is they're in a bleak fate and they're trying to do better than their parents did, and that type of thing.
Oh, you're taking Alien to a whole new level.
Oh, you have no idea. In fact, just to give you a taste of things to come, let me give you a thought here on, Tyler.
Yep.
So the Freddie Prinze Jr. looking motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a theory going around, perhaps just me and 10 other people.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say, let's.
but so let me give you the Tyler theory I have, because I think it might inform our conversation to give it. Yeah, because I will once again reiterate, Alien franchise is my favorite thing in the planet. So yeah, let me dive into this Tyler theory real quick. So basically, the bottom line is he's working for Wayland, and that's why he's been tasked to go to the ship and get the black goo, and that's why he reached out to Rain because he needs Andy to get all those things.
To
And
get into the ship and all that.
yeah,
Okay,
and he
okay,
makes
okay.
so like throughout the movie he makes weird military gestures that all of his friends are like, "Where the hell did that come
And he
from?"
knows his way around weapons.
He knows his way around weapons, and he says, "quote unquote," learned it from video games. Rain at one point goes like, "How did you know that ship is up there?" And he like completely avoids it. But if you think about it through that, like, it answers all the big gaps. Like, how did they get off? Why does Tyler know all these things? Why is he kind of just like a soft character?
I think this might literally be a theory between you and 10 other people now that you.
Oh, it's gonna be an adventurous episode.
There's like, it's funny because there's, yeah, you can dig deep into that stuff, but there's literally nothing to suggest that that's
Well,
what's
he goes
going
on
on in
there.
the movie.
I mean, the cryopods, he finds out it's freaking 3 rather than 9. You don't think Wayland sent him in there to be like, let's see if it's still dangerous and let's see what happens?
Yeah.
Perhaps the rat is a metaphor for our boy Tyler.
Well, a little bit of a black belt nerd moment among all of that. The group is trying to get to a better planet. Like the whole reason that, Tyler and the gang are all doing this is they're trying to get off of this mining planet to a place called Ivaga, which is a real word that translates to sky or heaven. It's a word from the Guarani people. Forgive me for any mispronunciations. They are indigenous people from Paraguay. The word also refers to the Milky Way. And I think Fede
That's
Alvarez is from Uruguay. So he's from South America. So this is probably a word that he's familiar with and heard growing up.
Yeah, yeah. And again,
Yeah.
like he did try to make this like a correlation between, leaving Europe to immigrate and stuff like that, and
Yep.
the sorrow of that.
Another couple of fun tie-in moments when we're getting to know Tyler and the rest of the gang. There's a couple of moments tied into the original films when they're all together and Bjorn makes fun of Tyler and the group by making these like clicky computer noises with his mouth. But he does the noises in the same cadence of sounds as the Nostromo does when it picks up the Mayday signal in the first film.
That's
like
awesome.
Like whatever he does with his mouth is exactly the rhythm that is used in the first one.
The stuff in this, I mean,
So cool.
this guy is, I mean, one thing I think I noticed too was when you meet Bjorn, he says, "Game over, man," when he's playing video games. The
Yeah.
Bill Paxton line from the first one too.
Yeah, that's another one. The ships all use what's called semiotic standards, which were a series of designs and symbols created by a production designer named Ron Cobb, who worked on the first Alien movie. They're used throughout the ship to explain what like certain equipment is for, like certain
Right.
doors, and like, oh, this is this part of the ship that's marked with like very specific decals that he designed.
There's this cool detail for the like gravity on and off one, and the on looks like a little eye, and then the off, it looks like a little body upside down.
Yeah, that's
good
all
stuff.
stuff
Yeah.
that Ron Cobb designed. Yeah. Another little black belt nerd moment, again tied into Ridley Scott's little folklore universe. The space station is split into 2 modules called Romulus and Remus, hence the name Alien Romulus.
Psycho
But the-
freaking guy, man.
Yeah, the Romulus and Remus are actually the names of 2 brothers in a Roman myth, where these 2 brothers get raised by a wolf in the wilderness and started the Roman Empire, centuries ago. Ridley Scott definitely uses the same imagery in Gladiator 2 that shows up. So
Yeah, he's a
yeah.
weirdo
He's
with-
definitely like just over the shoulder of Fede Alvarez in a lot of this,
I'm gonna once again just keep giving you all these alien folklores, especially when it comes to Remus Romulus, because Ridley Scott, he's repeating this.
Yeah.
So I think like when it comes to the Remus Romulus and why it's popping up there, I think ideally what we're talking about, given the grand look of what these movies are about and where they're headed, I think David and Andy are Remus and Romulus. They're both twins of the Wayland Corporation.
Ah, the synthetics, yeah.
Yeah, Andy, for instance, he was abandoned in the trash, you know. And I think Ridley Scott, when he's putting it in all of his different movies, he uses that as kind of like the base and then expands it specifically for each movie. And so, like, this one in particular, I think there's a lot of correlation between the Remus and Romulus with Cain and Abel story.
Sure.
You know, and I think so for this one, I think it might be Andy.
What's that from? Cain and Abel? That's from Mad Magazine, right?
Yes, exactly. A clean pie in the face.
Remember that?
Yes,
yeah.
and those are the 10. But yeah, so I think this one in particular, it's Andy and the Offspring are Cain and Abel. Because like, here's what's kind of going on. So like Eve, you know, she makes a pact with the serpent. She's punished with having to have childbirth. And she gives birth to Cain and Abel. Abel kills Cain, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, you know, aliens look like serpents. And so Kay's making a pact with the devil by injecting this goo into her. And also, you know, the Offspring is a product of incest because that whole thing
cousins,
too.
Yep.
So like, and here's the thing about like that kind of drives it home a little more is like Kay didn't know. She wasn't aware of what the black goo would do. But it was the men who told her it was okay.
Tyler tried to do it and
Rain stopped her.
Was like not
exactly.
Into it.
It was the men who put the idea in her head to make the pact with the devil. And that's why that is there. I swear to God.
Listen, I'm not going to deny that it's there. It's definitely in the movie, but goddamn, man.
It's not going to stop, John.
How late did you stay up?
I told you, we literally had to push this podcast back in the day. Yeah. I tell you, this Alien franchise, I was literally born to this movie. They had to race me to the hospital because my mom watching an alien burst out of a belly.
That sent her into
the
labor.
Whole thing.
That's awesome. Well, from about the 20-minute mark in this movie, we begin winding through this awesome horror maze in the space station. They really did an amazing job of making this environment that the characters are stuck in for the rest of the movie. They made it a whole character in its own, you know? So like not only are the you know, the environments of like space and the monster, they're so like insurmountable, but the space station itself is like this foreboding thing.
It's cool how when they do take off, and honestly, I think they could have taken a couple more beats in this moment.
Sure.
But when
they had
she
to get
sees
to it,
the sun,
right.
Yeah, the like spaceship blocks it.
It eclipses it.
It eclipses it.
It's so cool.
You know, saying you have to go through this to like get through, you know, to get to yours. And what I really, really, again, if you watch this movie 1,000 times, what I like is it opens with her having a dream sequence, right? And she's thinking of the planet, feeling the sun.
That's the only other time we see the sun in the movie. There's only 2 times.
I love that too.
Together, yeah, the rest of the movie is totally dark.
But yeah, together we could have a bedlam. But but yeah, so she like, we watch her do the dream sequence, the sun on her face of this dream planet. But we witness her live through a nightmare. And then it ends with her going to sleep, heading to the dream planet. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wonder if she actually made it. I guess we'll see in the next one.
Oh, Disney. We'll see.
Yeah.
I have a theory for the next thing, but that's the end.
There's a moment in the space station when they all are kind of getting situated. Bjorn sees a painting on the wall in one of the laboratories, and it's like this depiction of a lot of people dying in this town and just like mayhem all around. That piece is called View of the Hotel de Ville of Marseille during the Plague of 1720. The artist was Michael Serre. Forgive me for any mispronunciations.
Serre.
Serre, yeah, Michael Serre. That's probably.
Serre.
Yeah. It definitely depicts themes that we've seen in previous Alien films. The xenomorph as a destructive force, Michael Fassbender's character wiping out like a whole city of aliens, and the mysterious black goo and its evil purpose.
Yeah, big old metaphor for like what literally happens in the Romulus.
While looking at that painting, though, we hear the Wagner music from Alien Covenant playing along with that sequence as they're looking at the painting.
So good. See,
right?
That's what I mean. The music is all about it. Also, in that painting, there's a freaking kid sucking on the breast of a dead mother.
Yep.
Taste of things to come.
Guess what happens? Yeah. Well, another throwback to one of the original films, I think this is a throwback to Aliens in particular, is when Bjorn tells Andy, no fake people allowed. And Andy says, I prefer artificial person, which is a direct nod to Bishop, played by Lance Henriksen in Aliens, who says the exact same line when somebody calls him a synthetic. Lance Henriksen is one of those dudes that also shown up in every classic cult sci-fi horror movie.
So what other stuff has he been in?
So he was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Ah,
Right? Yeah, right. He was in Piranha 2. I don't know if you saw that classic. He was
no,
in,
just 3D.
He showed up in The Terminator, the OG one.
Oh, I actually know his face. You're
Yep. He showed up in Near Dark, which is a great vampire movie, also with Bill Paxton, who was in
Is Bill Paxton
Alien.
alive?
Bill Paxton passed away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in a film called Pumpkinhead. He was
picture.
also in, well, years later, he was in Alien versus Predator as Wayland. Well, in Romulus, we start to have a shift from it being like this mystery sci-fi heist almost, like,
Right.
you know, into a actual horror film. Because, like, before that, this point, we don't really know, like, we know the characters are endangered. We don't really know how we're going to see it come about until this mark in the film when they kind of go deeper into the dungeon of this, like, horror maze that they've created in the space station.
Yeah.
We go deeper into, like, what I like to call, like, one of the video game levels of the maze.
Right.
In, like, the laboratory with the face huggers and, like, seeing them all hatch. That moment's paralleled with Andy sort of going into, like, update mode, and everything just shifts in that moment when the face huggers bust out. Andy's, like, in this whole other
That's
thing, and yeah.
the best. That's very clearly like we're making a right turn there.
Yeah.
And I really, really like how, you know, when he rolls his eyes back like he's being possessed, and then it kind of looks like he's like summoning
Right.
the face crawlers to
Yeah.
fall out of there. And I do want to briefly mention, if you're just like wandering around in the woods or like, you know, urban environment and you see Stillwater, the rule is just to stay the fuck away from it.
Yeah, they jump right into
If
it.
you see Stillwater in a floating ship in outer space, like, that is the worst Stillwater there is, folks.
God knows what's in that, you know?
Jesus. Yeah, there's fucking face crawlers, you idiots.
Yeah, well, we have a sharp turn in Andy's personality and his purpose. Like, he's no longer this friendly protector, but he's like this cold, sort of calculating machine that
Oh
makes
my
like,
God.
very practical,
It's
harsh
the-
decisions.
It's the glow up I'm going for. Increase
Yeah.
strength and a British accent. And do whatever Disney tells me.
What my question was, though, is like, what's up with the androids in all of these damn alien movies, like turning into evil fucks? Like, except for Bishop in Aliens, who like stays
Good
the
call out
course
there.
of being a badass. Every alien movie, it's like, are they gonna learn ever? Like, don't trust these things. Like, they're not.
They're,
You know.
well, John, I'm really glad you asked.
What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I'm really, really happy you asked that. All right, so like, this is going to be a big one, yeah. So like, synthetics in general, this is like what drives the whole theme of Aliens home, especially now with Andy and David from Prometheus. And it kind of like drives home the original, one of the many themes of Aliens, which is their synthetics are there to show us what it is to be human. Like, and the best example I can kind of think of is in the beginning, you know, in Aliens. The way Ash kind of like functions with the humans is he just acts like he's just doing his thing. I'm just doing what everybody else is doing. I'm following orders.
Right.
And so the thing that happens there with Ash and Ripley, our queen, by the way, and that's why we love these movies, because Dan O'Bannon wrote such a clever script. But like, Ripley's the only one who's not following orders. And so the synthetic who is trying to blend in with humans is blown away by like what it's actually looking like to be an individual. And to a synthetic, the point of being a human is being free and having free will and things like that. And that's why they tend to be more violent than your average cookie, because they think that's what it is to be human, because they can't really understand that it's really about like the love and, you know, family aspect, because all these alien movies always introduce like a family at the very beginning that has to kind of build from there.
Wow.
I have more. Let me just. And I think that's kind of like why David and Ash want to kill the female protagonist.
Okay.
They have disdain for someone who thinks for themselves. They want this free
Right.
will. And, they're just wrong. And, as us as humans, we love and we share and protect, and they can't comprehend that.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's
I can't say I agree or disagree.
yeah, well, yeah, you gotta.
It's a lot of information. And
I hope it made it because it goes on.
I thought it was just a simple alien movie. I don't know.
No, John. This is the Alien franchise. Ridley Scott is a psychopath.
Wow.
And he gives birth to guys like me, psychopaths, yes.
I did pick up on another tie-in to Kubrick. Like, in the facehugger scene when they all escape through the laboratory door, I couldn't help but think of The Shining, when the door's about to close and then you see, like, hundreds of the facehuggers burst through the door. Like, it reminded me of the blood elevator in The Shining.
Again,
like just terror breaking through. Like, oh my god, the doors. It's.
It almost relates
out.
to what we were saying about like the mood board that's been carried over for decades to come. Because that Shining feeling, anything rushing at you will forever feel like that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I'm not gonna skip a beat here because now that you said the magic word facehuggers, let's get into facehuggers, John.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you said, Dan O'Bannon wrote Aliens, and one of his goals was like basically to write a rape allegory, and he wanted men to make them feel the way that women have felt for decades. And it was a women's liberation movement in the 70s.
Yep.
There was like a lot of movies coming out that made women's bodies like kind of as a device to scare people, like Carrie and The Exorcist.
Sure.
And so his goal, he like kind of called shit on that.
Right.
And his goal is to like make it flipped and attack men. Mm-hmm. And that's why Giger's. That's why Giger's illustrations like are so phallic and
there's a lot of references to like genitalia in his designs.
He wants the viewer, who's usually probably a male in these cases, to feel the fear of this shaft coming at you.
Right.
And that's also kind of like another brilliant thing this movie or Aliens does in general. Is just the anatomy of the facehugger. It's a perfect reversal of what it to reverse it, not to get too graphic, but like the elongated fingers, those are like its hands grabbing you and forcing you in. And the umbilical cord, instead of like giving life, that's the thing choking you to death. And the mouth being the looking like of a hoo-ha, it's like an inverted metaphor for birth. It's impregnating you. But like the brilliance of a facehugger is it is such a perfect vehicle to make men feel just a whiff of that uncomfortableness.
I guess I just took it for granted of how many things are referenced, not only in like sci-fi culture and films in general, and also like Roman mythology, like we mentioned before.
Right.
But also, it makes sense that like, a creative like Dan O'Bannon would have looked at what was going on in the world at the time and like used that as a part of like what he was putting into his art. Like that.
Well,
totally
like just to
sense.
like whiff at it, like that's what these are about. These movies, it's like that's why Ridley is the perfect feminist character, because she just embodies just questioning the system. It's not about but we dissect or we digress as we dissect.
I guess we should just probably go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room with Ian Holmes' likeness being used as the android Rook and the totally botched CGI job they did with his face. Despite Alvarez having gotten permission from Holmes' family to use the actor's likeness, like it was a total hatchet job. I mean, the rest of the CGI that they used in this film was really good, and it was only used in like touches here and there.
Yeah, brilliantly.
And
look what we did with the facehuggers, but look what we did with this dead guy.
Yeah, like the space station floating over like the rings of the planet, the alien in the elevator shaft catching rain, like all of that was just like sprinkled in and well done. And then they just made you look at this
Bilbo Baggins. Jesus Christ. But did you hear they redid it though for releasing it on streaming and renting?
No,
They like touched it
I
up.
couldn't tell.
Apparently, it looks better. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it because I bought the original one.
I was just kind of like, why wouldn't they just get a different actor to do it? Like Andy Serkis,
Could have
Gollum.
been Winona Ryder for fuck's sake.
I mean, what is
like
what's
she
weird,
was a droid at one point. Right?
what's Weird Al Yankovic up to? Like, just get
Fucking A. Let's get some more folklore up in here. Some more lore. Jesus.
Well, I think it might be time to just pay our respects to Kay and what might be the longest drawn out torment and trauma quest that a character has ever gone through.
You're right, because Kay's torment pretty much covers the gambit of the movie.
It lasts the entire movie.
She is she takes the hit every single fucking time.
Yeah, I mean, so I've kind of got it broken down just to like highlight the points of like insanity that we see her go through. So like, we find out she's pregnant, and then
Already rough.
already bad news. You're already
Your
like,
cousin too.
yeah. So she goes and she's taking a nap on the ship. Meanwhile, the facehuggers break through. Navarro gets a facehugger on her face, which implants the alien egg in her. So
You wake up from a nap and your friend kicks in the door and there's a fucking
yeah, minutes later,
Yeah.
Navarro's like having an alien burst out of her chest. Kay wakes up from a nap to see that. Then
fucking awesome scene.
the ship is ejected from the space station, but crashes back into the loading dock while Kay's in it with an alien and her dead friend now.
Right.
So now they're back in the space station where she watches Bjorn, the father of her baby.
They love each other too, you can tell.
Yeah, they really
Yeah.
care about each other. So Bjorn gets slashed with a scorpion stinger, and the alien, emerges from this pod. Then she watches him as he gets like acid dripped on him from the
And
alien.
more just these are easy ones, but that's
Yeah.
such a metaphor for like, abortion, shoving that thing into the womb. And
Right,
stuff like
trying
that.
to kill the
Yeah.
alien inside or whatever.
Yeah.
So that part of the movie is really cool because that marks the first time in any alien movie where we see the xenomorph's like incubation process. Usually in other movies that stuff happens off screen, or we see like
Totally
the
unique.
skin shed or
Right.
whatever. This was the first time we see it like crawl out. Also wanted to note that there was an actor in an actual suit that like came out of the pod, and all of the blocking and the movements of the original alien and the alien in this one were all references from the original Nosferatu in the 1920s. Like the hands unfolding slowly as it comes out of the pod. All of its like coming up and coming to life stuff is
It reminded
all
me
from
of
that.
the Species. You ever see Species?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one,
I
too,
mean, they
yeah.
basically get born out of a little hive in the corner like that.
100%.
A lot sexier.
I actually had this thought when I was reading about the Nosferatu references. So, what movie would have taken Nosferatu's place in cinema history if all of the copies were destroyed as ordered by the court? When Bram Stoker's widow sued the German filmmakers, like a judge ordered all copies be destroyed, but a couple made it to America where it became, legendary. So, and Alien definitely references it. So, like, what movie wouldn't have taken its place,
I think it would have been that movie, like, what's it called? White Zombie? Like the original.
Oh, that's right. I never saw it, but yeah.
It's
right.
definitely, like, kind of set.
Because Night of the Living Dead
I don't know
didn't
if
come
that's
until
what
the
it's
50s or the early 60s.
Yeah, I forget. It's something to that degree, which we
Right.
mentioned in 28.
So now Kay is stuck trying to find the keys to open a door to escape through in like one of the overused horror cliches. She barely gets the keys in time before the monster reaches her.
But at this point, we're so in.
We're
It's
in,
so
that, and that's
scary,
like,
yeah.
it's kind of the thing of like, sometimes I don't think you can avoid certain horror tropes, but if
Right.
you don't lean on them, you can get away with them. Because like we've already been introduced to so much other crazy shit by this point that we're like, okay, we're gonna do that old horror
It's
movie
an
thing.
impossible
That's fine.
thing. You know, when you tell like a real story,
Yeah.
you're like, it's like a movie.
Yeah.
You're like, well, then where's the fine line? Yeah.
Right. So naturally, as soon as she gets through the door, she trips and falls over a railing like 2 stories down below.
Oh, so
Somehow-
Dora the Explorer too. You know, she's Dora the Explorer.
Right. So somehow,
Poor thing.
well, somehow the baby surviving all of this is the real sci-fi thing.
Yeah, well, babies,
Yeah.
be it an alien baby or that, they can survive an attempted abortion, be it prod or fall. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kay finds herself at another locked door, and they do the same cliche as before, but this time the alien gets the girl. We see her later on wrapped up in the webbing of the alien's nest where the aliens keep all their prey.
Which is like from a deleted scene back from Alien, where they didn't want to show that the alien does that type of thing, like hives people.
Right. Well, Tyler and Rain get her out, and that's when Tyler tries to inject her with the black goo.
Right.
Um,
Because he's working for Wayland.
Okay, that's what I think. Well, she immediately sees her brother Tyler get stabbed with the alien stinger and carried up through a hole in the ceiling. Then Rain gets her on a freight elevator to take her to safety up in the escape pod, but stops midway and just abandons her to go rescue Andy. So now Kay has seen the three most important people in her life die, including her brother. She's fallen off a 2-story railing, and she's been held captive by an alien. So, what else could possibly happen to her?
Yeah, I mean, this is why I have faith for Alvarez not bowing to Disney, because this is one of the more graphic birth scenes there is.
She gives birth to a hideous monster that turns around and kills her.
Who apparently is a real person.
Yeah, I think he's a Polish athlete, a basketball player.
What do you do if you're what do you do if you're that guy's brother? And he's like, and you're watching that movie with him, do you... I guess you're also a freak, too.
What the fuck?
Jesus Christ, yeah. Anyway, but that alien, the fucking thing she gives birth to, you know how she was secreting the black goo from her nipple?
Right. It breastfeeds from her and kills her.
My God. Mm-hmm. It comes in all fucking sniffing with its tongue, and it eats her and sucks the goo from her breast, but ends up killing her because it's like a disgusting, atrocious, fucking horrific monster. I can give you yet again a little bit about why that monster looks the way it does.
Yes, please.
If you are curious, of course.
Yes.
The short version is, basically the black goo, as freaking, Bilbo Baggins told us, it's the source of life. Mm-hmm. And they extracted that black goo from the xenomorph that they got in the very beginning.
Yep.
And the goo was created by the engineers, and the engineers created us. That's kind of the long and short of it.
Yep.
So, you take all that and you put it in a nice, incest womb, it's going to look like that. Now, let me go in a little bit deeper here, John. But, just to, basically breathe at, why I think even having such an atrocious creature like this is not just shock value, but is also giving complete nod to the lore of Aliens.
Right, stuff they've tried to explain in other movies and done
exactly.
They've done this combination of creature and human and this and that, and so
exactly. Mm-hmm. So we need an explanation if we're going to run with this.
Oh, we need one.
It essentially shows one one of the many themes that are happening in these Aliens movies, which is humans are trying to play God.
Right.
And so the tale goes, John, is the engineers lost the ability to reproduce. So they take off to the cosmos and look for a way to kind of solve this. And they find what is to believe the first face hugger. And they pick a chosen one. And they call this one the Deacon. And I know you're thinking this, John, not to be confused by the deacon at the end of Prometheus that gets impregnated. This is a different deacon. Just to
can never have too many deacons, honestly.
But eventually this deacon dies, and they start using this deacon's blood to try to seed life. And that giant head that they see in Prometheus? That is a statue towards the deacon. And so remember in Prometheus when he drinks that thing and goes into the water? That's him drinking this deacon's blood, trying to seed life. But the whole catch with this is when you're trying to play God is you always create a lesser version of yourself. And that's exactly what happened is they created humans, which was essentially a failed experiment. Humans then created synthetics, which they consider lesser than them. And then synthetics, specifically David, he created xenomorphs, but that's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other movie, too.
It's a whole fucking rant. It's an hour long. But he created xenomorphs, and then xenomorphs create lesser versions of facehuggers. So what is happening here is there's just always going to be a lesser version. So that is essentially a engineer just a lesser version and a human and a lesser version. And that is what's happening there.
That's what's happening in this movie.
Just in case you were curious.
So, fun fact about some of the final scenes leading up to this monster. The weapons locker that they go into before they get armed to like take on the aliens or whatever.
Right.
That was an homage to Sid Mead's artwork for Aliens in the second film. He designed like the weapons bay that the Marines used. So the
awesome.
production designer for this one lifted some of those concepts. Sid Mead is an interesting character. He shows up in every classic sci-fi film. He did concept art for both the original Alien movies, Blade Runner, again a Ridley Scott film, the original Tron, Short Circuit, and a lot of his art inspired some of the machines in Star Wars as well. The blue fog light that we see in the alien nest, that was used in the first film as well. They bring it back here for this moment when they're like, when they find Kay in the nest or whatever. So back in 1979, the film, you know, they were filming at the studio or whatever, and they needed something to create this like really eerie effect. And in the studio next door, the band The Who were using fog and light machines and whatever for their stage show, right?
Hilarious.
So like the crew from Alien like went over there and was like, "Hey, can we borrow your toys to make this alien lair?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
That was just some grip, two guys sharing a cigarette. And they're like, "We're having this big problem. We're gonna have to work till 2." And he's like, "Just use our lights, bro."
Yeah, I love that. We've got another little throwback right at the end here when Andy saves Kay with the machine gun or whatever. He gives the classic, like, "Leave her alone, you bitch" line from Ripley. It's a throwback, but also just kind of was like, I don't know. We didn't, some of the other little things that they tossed in there were cool and fun. This one was like, all right.
This one's reeks of Disney.
Yeah.
But John, John, do I have a theory for you?
No, yes. Yes.
In directly regards to this line. So, I don't think this line should have been said. However, I think they did a little bit more than your average Disney just callback, because the weight behind this line very possibly might be the heart behind the whole movie. Mm-hmm. So, it kind of drives home the original point, the Dan O'Bannon themes of like rape and stuff like that. And so, like, so there's like fatherhood themes when it comes to Andy. Like, Andy was created by her dad, Rain's dad, to be her surrogate father, and the directive is, you know, to protect Rain. But he kind of came out unfinished because he died as a product of the environment. So there was more of like a little brother vibe.
Totally,
you know?
yeah.
First 5 minutes, he literally couldn't be left alone for 5 minutes.
Right, yeah, without getting picked on and whatever.
On the other hand, we have David, who is, when we got introduced to David, he was running an entire ship, taking care of everything the entire time.
Right.
So, you know, kind of going back to that, you know, Remus Romulus thing. But so David, being the father of xenomorphs, like I pointed out earlier, he's kind of created from a misogynistic man, Waylon, and he has disdain for that. And Andy is being created from a loving father. Now we have David, who has a strong hatred for creators, aka women, and then we have the love of a father for his daughter. So now we are being hit with the biggest dynamic possible, the love of
total
that
opposites
versus hate for women. And that's why, like, the dad jokes are interesting, because it seems so doesn't really mean anything. But when the minute she puts the chip back in, she asks him for the dad joke. Now suddenly this dad joke isn't just like them sharing memories of their dad. He now steps into the father role. And even when he starts running after them, chasing Bajorn, he says, "I'm not going to be a kid to you anymore." And so he's now stepping into fatherhood. And what he's doing right there, after she comes back and saves him like he's helpless, he's now taking care of her by saying, "Get away from your bitch." Much like Ridley did in the original one with the way she had to adopt the daughter. And protected her because it's literally almost shot for shot when she goes back. But the big twist here is the daughter fucking, you know, aka Andy, comes in and saves her, saying the same line that ironically Ridley says. You see?
I think so.
Yes.
I think I might need you to
Yes,
say
John.
say all that one
Yes.
more time.
You see, John. You see.
Do all that one more time.
Of course, of course. Let me just repeat myself.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
So, wrapping up the final scenes in this movie, Alien and Aliens, they all do this thing in the final scene where you think that, they're in the clear, but it turns out there's one more threat that they
All
gotta
of
fight.
them. Yeah, they all have like a template. Like,
Yeah.
she has to be in her underwear.
Right.
And she has to think everything's
Guard is
fine.
down and we're
Yeah.
good to go.
And
So,
then, of course.
yeah, they do that again here in this one.
And they do a very, like, I mean, I don't know how you kill an alien other than fucking sucking it out the window.
Ejecting it through space.
Dude,
Because that's how they kill it in all of the movies.
You gotta, like, freeze it. But then
Apparently it doesn't happen because they live.
Well, also Ridley, our queen, once again, was hailed as the first one to ever kill a xenomorph. This movie basically tells us she didn't kill it.
She didn't kill it, right.
Jesus.
Well, bear with me through this one.
Totally.
Rain punches in a coordinate on the keypad to get them to Ivaga. The keypad itself is the exact design from the one used on the Nostromo when Ridley does it.
Nice.
So the keypad actually has the same buttons as the one from Alien as well. All of the buttons have Sanskrit terms on them, which are taken from Helena Blavatsky's book, The Second Doctrines, which tries to explain the origins of the universe through the concept of cyclical development, which is a Hindu concept going way, way back. So the buttons that she presses for the coordinates, one relates to prana, and one relates to the goddess Shakti. Basically, in Sanskrit terms, it means life comes from the womb.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
That's
See?
like deliberately put in there from the first movie. In this
Frickin-
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he did not deliver with this type of
Right.
richness, then you can't handle aliens.
Yeah.
Straight up.
I did like the final little bookend when the spaceship, like Rain goes to sleep and the spaceship just drifts out into the blackness, just like it showed up in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, perfect ending.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little scared what's going to happen there in the end, but I have faith. But
Well-
if I swear to God, if we have a Rain and a Daniels from Covenant and a CGI de-age Ripley fighting a alien god at one point, I'll flip out. I need David and Andy to push those themes I was talking about further.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't put it past Disney to do whatever.
The most
hell.
atrocious,
Yeah.
offensive thing ever, yes.
Well, moral of the story, stop getting on abandoned ships that are just floating in space and stop trusting these fucking androids.
Yeah, I
What are you
mean,
doing?
just,
We've
yeah.
we've got a series of films that have pointed to like why you shouldn't do this stuff, and here we are doing it again.
Did you hear they just made 2 artificial dire wolves and they named them Remus and Romulus without a sense of irony?
No.
It's crazy.
Huh.
That's real news. But yes, so I agree. Mine would be the system will destroy us unless we destroy it, of course. That's what I will say at every movie, possibly.
I was gonna say that's kind of like your thing.
But this one in particular represents a lot of that. But yeah, totally.
Well, I think it's about time to get into Grave Matters. What do you think?
Oh, I can't wait. No
Right.
more theories and grave matters.
Let's do it. All right, so here on Bedlam Movie Night, we wrap everything up with a section called Grave Matters, where we do a few little category things. First off, we'd like to play a twist on the game Fuck, Marry, Kill with Fight, Friend, or Spare. I would fight a xenomorph, but only if I actually got to be a xenomorph myself to even the playing field a little bit.
What if you got to be in that cool machine that Ridley's in?
From
the yellow
Aliens?
thing? Yeah.
That was pretty badass. Yeah.
Pretty scary, though.
Yeah, I mean, because you're kind of trapped in that thing. At least, like, if I'm a xenomorph, I've got all of the skills that fucker has.
If I was in that thing and someone told me to pick up an apple, I'd have a heart attack.
Yeah. I mean, predators can't really handle xenomorphs. We saw in those
No,
movies,
but
they get slaughtered.
they're interesting because like one can take on like 30 because
Right.
suddenly this perfect organism is like a cockroach compared to predator, which I have quarrel with because it informs my lore. But yeah,
Well, I would friend Andy. I didn't like that he got picked on, and I really enjoyed it when he got his turn in sort of shoving everybody around, especially Bjorn. When he
Right.
kind of got to challenge him, and like Bjorn would realize like, oh fuck, I can't walk
Yeah,
all
like
over this guy
actually,
anymore.
this guy could kill me.
And then finally, I would spare Kay. What the fuck, man? I've never seen a
You
character
can't.
take on like if it
Yeah.
was any other kind of movie, it would almost be like a comedy where you just see
Yeah.
like, oh my god, what are they going to do to this person now? Oh my god, and like
If it
they just
fixated on her rather than
Right.
like Andy, like imagine just her
Right.
point of view the whole time. Like if it was just like a Halloween, that oh my god,
Right.
no one would sit through that.
No,
It would be
absolutely,
horrific. Then
yeah.
it ends with oh boy,
Yeah.
her being sucked from her breast to death.
Yeah.
So yeah, the obvious answer is spare Kate any ounce of that pain.
right.
And I'm gonna fight Freddie Prinze Jr., Waylon Sneak Fuck Tyler.
You're convinced that he's like a mole. I don't.
He's totally a goddamn mole. There's no way you can be that fucking neutral and worthless, but have that much knowledge at the same time. I got your number, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And Freddie Prinze Jr., same thing.
You'd fight him too, huh?
Yeah, especially in,
An alien movie. Yeah.
well, I know what you did last summer. He deserves a punch, but I digress again. But I would befriend Rain. She just seems chill.
Yeah, she was a badass.
I think we both have the same type of like anxiety levels.
Yeah. My favorite moment of the film, I guess this is like moments, is really the video game level aspect of the space station. And like I said, I use the word horror maze, which I just like really love that phrase and had never come to mind before watching this movie.
Right.
So I broke it down into different levels. So level one, if this were a video game, you've got the ship docking into the space station and everybody trying to find the oxygen that they need for the trip to Ivaga.
that, yeah.
So level two is finding the facehuggers in the laboratory and having to fight them off and escape. Level three is the cold air room where they try to trick the facehuggers to keep their body temperature down, and they're like walking very quietly
Totally.
and like close to the facehuggers who can't detect them. Then you've got to get through the door in time before Andy locks it on you. So it's like a level that's timed,
Right.
where you have to move
Mash
very
X,
specifically,
yeah.
but also there's a timer, a countdown.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Level four, you've got to outsmart the xenomorph in the loading dock, like when Kay falls down and she's like
Right.
crawling on her belly, trying to be sneaky, meanwhile being hunted.
Yep.
Level five is the zero gravity gun battle and acid
Outside.
bath.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
where
a good one.
like floating through the acid or whatever. Level
Oh,
six,
the acid bath for sure. Yeah.
yeah, level six is the elevator shaft and fighting off multiple xenomorphs while you're trying to climb out of it. And then, of course, level seven is the final boss, the offspring giant thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like,
Which I could see
It
it
was
like
really fun.
ending with like, you know how there's that jump scare where it pops up finally in the
Finally
end.
at the end,
That
yeah.
would be like you have to like hit it in a specific spot, but only have
Right.
like a certain amount of time.
right.
I can see it right now.
Yep.
I guess my favorite moment was kind of like, I just love the chest burster. I mean, when Navarro goes through that and
Yeah.
she shows what's going on inside her, and just the way it turns up, the way the ship goes into, crashes, and the way the light goes through the windows as it's careening.
Yeah.
It's so goddamn powerful.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, the chest bursting stuff is something really unique to these movies. And similar to that is the acid that drips on people. So in this one, like Bjorn gets killed from the acid dripping on him. The acid stuff like really stuck with me from seeing the movies as a kid, where it was like, oh my
Right.
God, how do you deal with that if their blood can
I
leak
remember,
through your
yeah, there's
skin,
like, I think it was Aliens 3. They're like in a cage and they kill
Yeah.
one of them to like make sure he bleeds out and gets out.
Right.
But yeah, it's like Bilbo Baggins says, that's how they killed the main xenomorph was
Right.
it's great swan song.
Yeah.
And that's how once again he got sucked out the roof, I guess, yeah. But,
Yeah. Well, my question of the day is, should Ridley Scott keep making these things or just serve as a background player? Like, I think he's lost the plot with Covenant, and I said it before, but just a little too involved in his own mythology, and it just kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I really liked what Alvarez got to do here, and it was a cool experiment.
Totally.
I don't want to see Disney fuck with it too much, and I also just don't want Ridley Scott to keep doing it either.
They're going to keep going with it, and it's going to be... They're not going to stop, that's for sure.
What about, like, letting... I know I mentioned George Miller, the Mad Max guy, doing something with this before, but, like, what about Brendan Cronenberg, who made Infinity Pool and Possessor? Like, that dude is a weird guy. Like, let him make
if only there was a studio that was willing to do such a thing.
All right.
This one barely got away with it, and I'm telling you, obviously, I read into every inch of this movie.
I could tell.
Yeah.
I think everybody at home could tell.
Yes, and Aliens that's just the way it is. No one will watch these movies with me for this reason. Yeah. But yeah, my special question is, what's your best dad joke?
So this dyslexic guy walks into a bra.
That's a dad joke if there ever was one.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Do you know how Little Caesars cuts their pizza?
No.
With Little Caesars.
Oh, God. I think that's where we need to wrap it up.
Yep. I'll call it right there. Well, Alien Romulus. It's a good time for sure.
Yeah. It's. I'm glad that they went in the direction they did with it. I hope we get more stuff like this with the Alien movies. But
yeah, hopefully it gets better and it's not just Rogue One,
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us, everybody, and tune in again next week. We'll have something exciting lined up for you. And as always, to be continued.
And keep your eyes on the skis.